Hello and welcome to the agenda. I am Ajay Kaul. In this program today, we will analyze the continuing standoff between India and China at the line of actual control. The India-China military face-off at the Ladakh border is 6 months old now, and there is no end to it in sight, with China refusing to pull back its troops from the friction points and India also digging in its heels. It looks clear that it is going to be a long haul. Indian Air Force Chief Air Marshal RKS Bhadoria stated today that the disengagement process is slow and there is an effort to be there during the winter. Some experts feel that seeing through the winter in such a state would mean that it will be impossible to evict the Chinese PLA later. We will analyze this issue in the agenda today with retired Brigadier Dr. Vinod Datta and National Security and Geopolitics expert Mr. Jitendra Kumar Oja. But before we start our conversation, let us have a look at this small report.
It is now clear that the military standoff between India and China on the Ladakh border will continue through the upcoming winter. This clarity was provided by Indian Air Force Chief Air Chief Marshal RKS Bhadoria today, as he said the disengagement process was slow and there is an increase in the effort to dig in for winter in terms of forces on ground and deployment of air assets in airfields close by. The disengagement process is being hampered by China's refusal to pull back its troops, even though it has given assurances repeatedly over the last 6 months in talks held at military and diplomatic levels. In fact, far from withdrawing troops from the friction points, China has been amassing more and more troops at various places along the Ladakh sector of line of actual control. It has also deployed surface-to-air systems in the Ladakh theatre, air-launched long-distance weapons and Zhengdu J-20, which is the 5th generation fighter with advanced sensors and weapons, the Air Chief said. India has done the matching deployment of troops and military assets, the IAF chief said. We have catered for all scenarios and are fully capable of handling any threat. He added that our further action will depend on ground realities. Meanwhile, the military commanders of the two countries will be having 7th round of talks on October 12 to discuss the way forward on ending the face-off and tensions that threaten to blow up into an armed conflict. Bureau Report.
Now let's welcome our guests Brigadier Datta and Mr. Oja. Welcome to the program, sirs.
Thank you.
So my first question is to Brigadier Datta. Now winter is coming and it is 6 months already at Ladakh border. The military face-off continues and IAF chief today clearly hinted that it is going to be a long haul. What is your assessment?
Yeah, it is definitely quite evident that the haulage is going to be long and the troops are going to be there for best part of winter. And because the campaigning season also is going to conclude in another about month's time, and after November it will be very difficult for any armies to carry out any operations. So the only option which they are left is that they can remain inside the trenches and keep a vigil on the border, and the vigil can be through aerial platforms, through digital platforms, through satellite platforms. And since China is not to be believed, and the kind of activities which they are undertaking, and you must have seen that the barracks of the Chinese army, they have been done up, and the central heating system is being done up.
Right.
Because earlier what used to happen is that they used to only have say, about 1/3 troops there, and since there was peace and tranquility on LAC, they always thought that 1/3 troops are good enough to safeguard the LAC, and they could do any kind of misadventure whenever they wanted because the initiative lied, with them. So this time they have been really, taken by surprise, and it is also costing China a big fortune in terms of maintaining the forces.
Mr. Oja, I come to you. As we have now, we know now it is going to be a long haul. Initially, we thought that it will get over maybe in a month or two. There will be de-escalation, there will be disengagement, but it's not happening right now. And if we see it in the context of China's recent statement, when it says that we don't recognize Ladakh, so does that somehow make their intentions clear that it is not off the cuff movement, it is a clear, well planned operation?
Well, at no point of time I had any confusion that this will get over. Right from April or May onwards, I've been speaking with media, and I said that they have come very, very well prepared. In fact, rather in January, I was delivering a talk somewhere, and there was one of the very eminent defense analysts and Major General, retired Major General from Army. Both of us said that the moment there is an internal crisis in China, they would break up some confrontation at the border. So I had no confusion at all. Even now, I'm very clear that Chinese had been planning this for quite some time. If you see the statements made by Xi Jinping, the way he had restructured military, the way he brought in a concept like territorial integrity, he brought as part of core interest for which his country could go to war. So he was looking for something like this. Of course, 370 amendment may have acted as a trigger point. I do not deny that. But the preparation was quite long. He wanted something substantial to demonstrate to his people. But what has surprised them is the resolve of Indian Army. Our armed forces have shown strong resolve, and entire country is standing behind our armed forces. So this kind of response we cannot have anticipated. But as Brigadier Datta said, that initiative lies with them. So in matters of national security, initiative must never lie with adversary. Our government, our security establishment has to surprise them. Look, this thing is, as long as it remains confined to LSE, at the moment we have an advantage because we are occupying heights, we have passes also. But China's long-term strategy has always been very clear. Ladakh, they have said, but even in 1928, after Peking University, we have spoken that Chinese were absolutely clear in 1920s or even in 1950s when Mao built the road from Tibet to Xinjiang via Aksai Chin, more than 100 kilometers inside our border. They were very clear that full of Aksai was Indian territory. We have been rather resilient, we have not been very firm, and we have always been waiting for something from the other side to happen. We have to have a proactive strategy at JG, whatever way is possible. We have to build pressure on China because for us, this kind of this kind of things prolonging on the border is really very healthy. I'm sure our security establishment is seized of it, but we have to have an element of pride. Whatever support we can mobilize, we should aim for that. Chinese have become extremely unpopular, so we should not wait for them, to the US elections to be over or for them to rather stabilize the situation. We have to throw an element of surprise, so much of pressure that they have left with no other option but to back up.
Mr. Oja, as a supplementary, you talked about element of surprise. But it seems like element of surprise has been given by China to us, because as you say that you were aware in January that they will be launching an operation.
No, not aware. This was assessment. This was assessment.
Yeah. So assessment, yeah, that's what. So even after the mobilization by China, I think Indians, we woke up a little late, or maybe we didn't realize that the gravity, and maybe it was like Kargil moment again. We were like. Not too sure, maybe it will be like of that magnitude. Is it right?
Look, Ajay, as a state, as a civilization, we have been shown appalling lack of strategic foresight and vision. This is something we have to get out of it because we were a far superior civilization, far older, far stronger, and far more civilization compared to China. So this element of India is not new. We were expecting after 1971 victory or 1999, we will change our attitude. This will not happen. So this kind of thing, leading the initiative with adversary is not at all very for any great civilization or great power or a great state. If we are aspiring for greatness, we have to be extremely careful that this kind of opportunity must rest with us, because the kind of differences we are having in China, the kind of preparations we are making towards this thing, we were not ready. Our biggest problem is that we have not been able to resolve some of our internal issues. Right now, we lot trying to decode, decipher China. But it is extremely important that besides decoding and deciphering, how can we reconstruct our institutions to optimize our strength? Comprehensive national power of India should not have been at 1/4 of China. We had all the potential to be at par with China. But due to some, long pending governance and other institutional reforms, we have been neglecting, we have been undermining competence, we have been undermining fair competition, we have been undermining meritocracy, and we have brought ourselves to this situation. I hope after this thing, after this incident, we wake up, because, national security does not give you too many chances. But we have to admire the resolve of the country and, of course, leadership provided by our Prime Minister. We feel much more secure. We have an element of confidence that with present Prime Minister at the helm, we will be able to overcome this crisis. But from now onwards, our attitude, our approach has to change as far as matters of national security is concerned. It should not wait for China. We have to bolster our all-round military, economic and technological prowess. In today's world, we cannot afford to lag behind, and we cannot afford to have, even Pakistan we have just been speaking, we have to live with a neighbor like this. I'm sorry, we have to devise powerful and effective strategies to conclude the kind of covert and irregular war that Pakistan has imposed on us. We cannot be waiting for Pakistan to come out with another acting. Rather, we have to have end game very clear in our mind. Where do we see ourselves as a civilization and state heading, and how can we mobilize our internal institutions, our internal capacities, and then we respond. I hope, from now onwards, we big change. This is what I can say, Ajay.
Brigadier Datta, you heard Mr. Oja that he hopes that things will change, because I'll ask you the same. We always, we are the second movers, isn't it? Even in Kargil, we were second movers. We did not anticipate, we did not in fact assess the real gravity. I think the same thing has happened here. You were in Kargil, so maybe you can throw some more light on this.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ajay. We have been always, had the status of second movers, and our contemporaries, our adversaries have really, read our national thinking. So what is required is that our intelligence agencies, they should work on a common platform. They should work on the same page. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen. There are far too many agencies. There are far too many, ministries and such like agencies who are controlling them. I mean, the institution of CDS. It has come about after 20 years of Kargil war. And that too, the government has only sanctioned a 4-star general, whereas it was recommended that he should be slightly, a notch above the other 4-star generals.
Right.
So now, the very fact that the CDS is there and, he's going to control most of the operations or the tri-service operations, and now India is thinking of theatre commands. So it is going to give, a lot of synergy in our operations. Similarly, the intelligence agencies, firstly, they lack that kind of accountability. So many intrusions have taken place. If you see, if you draw the comparison between Doklam and the face-offs, you see, Doklam was sequential. And, we could push Chinese with our, very, very deliberate and sequential thinking. Whereas these face-offs, they are consequential. We are now reacting. And every time this thing happens, that we are always reactive. And enemy is also looking at the, softer portions on the border management. The border management has also been left to far too many agencies. Like in our teaching in the army, it is always said that the lesser threatened areas will be assigned to the paramilitary or the Central Armed Police Organization. And the enemy is basically looking for these weak spots. And you have seen that the intrusion took place in Galwan Valley. So what I want to say is that the operational control 24/7, leave aside during hostilities, it should rest with the army, and it should be given to the people who are staying there 24/7, who understand the pulse of the enemy. Thirdly, the intelligence agencies, it's high time we must start fixing people or fixing the accountability. That if there are lapses, I'll just quote you an example. In Alexander's army, he always used to quote, he says, the logisticians in my army are the saddest people, because they know if my campaign fails, if my operations fail, they'll be killed first. So what I want to say is that we must fix accountability, because you see, national security, national sovereignty is a very pure, pristine and pakiza thing, and we must restore it. Above all, kind of small thinking and party-based or personality-based perceptions.
Right, Mr. Oja, you heard him, Brigadier Datta, about intelligence agencies should be accountable. What is your view on that?
Absolutely, because intelligence agencies need to be professional as well as accountable. Unfortunately, we have created a tough kind of system, a very generalist kind of system. In this turf, individuals, cartels, groups, and all these people are creating their turf, and professionalism and accountability is a casualty. This is the rather inherent problems our country has, because it is very popularly said that, four Indians walk in the same direction only when they are carrying the fifth one in their shoulders. Fortunately, our armed forces have managed to develop a strong professional ethos, and we entirely, depend on them, but it should not happen. But I would go beyond what Brigadier Datta has said. Of course, intelligence agencies need to be professional and accountable. Any lapses have to be dealt with severely. But this has not happened. We have a generous kind of agency, and despite all said and done, nothing has happened, to professionalize these. And various kinds of cartels have come up everywhere, and these cartels are calling the shots. And they are doing it at the cost of national security interests of this country. And very unfortunate that, even over there are 90% professionals, I would say, are extremely hardworking. They are smartest people compared to anywhere in the world. But, they are not being supported by the establishment as a whole, the institutions as a whole. And people who are there, they have absolutely no knowledge, because each of this is a highly professional and specialized kind of work. But I hope the government wakes up and takes remedial measures. I would not like to speak beyond this on your platform, Ajay, but we are only country, only democracy in the whole world where intelligence agencies have absolutely no watchdog, no oversight committee, because everywhere in each and every established democracy, there is a proper monitoring oversight by intelligence agencies, because they work under secrecy, and secrecy is vulnerable to be abused. If there are few cartels at the top, they can abuse secrecy, and what can act as a shield for the country, this can be abused by these cartels. But unfortunately, there is no safeguard in our system, and people at the top, they are extremely busy. I hope, that from this point onwards, people who are at the policy-making level, they take note of it. But I would go beyond what Brigadier Datta has said. It is not merely agencies, not merely defense forces. Security of a country requires strong economic capacity, strong technological prowess. So unless and until we are able to boost up our entire governance arrangement, unless and until we are able to provide a stronger economic base, unless and until we are able to build some institutions of excellence and technological innovation, which we have demonstrated. Some of the recent researches and recent launches by DRDO, they have demonstrated that we are second to no one. But it is bad criminal justice system, poor governance mechanism. That's what, are eroding our capacity. So I would say at a tactical level, yes, give freedom to armed forces, give freedom to military, because nobody knows better this border mechanism better than army. So let them be there. This is what my understanding is. This is what is understanding of many security experts. Maybe there is a wiser perspective. Government has to go for that. But at the same time, these accountability issues, this cannot be ignored. Accountability has to be there. If there's a problem, restructuring is required. We cannot escape that responsibility of restructuring, because as previous panelists very nicely pointed out and very aptly pointed out, national security and national sovereignty is sacrosanct. No one is over and above that. So no cartel has to be allowed, domestic cartel has to be allowed to monopolize the institutions, increase their individual turf, increase their individual domain. Everybody has to be accountable to and subservient to national security and national sovereignty. And regarding economic capacity, I'm mentioning that, look, our economically, the kind of situation we are placed in, we don't deserve to be in this situation. We have been, ignoring a lot of internal restructuring needs. These are not, simple commercial and GDP, GNP needs. These threaten our existential interests. These threaten our existence. So, even unless and until our private sector is able to generate wealth, and unless it is able to, drive excellence in technological innovation, we are going to lag behind. In today's world, if you lag behind in technology, if you lag behind in economic prowess, you are making your country vulnerable. So I believe that the whole holistic approach has to be taken, and we have to create right ecosystem where our defense forces, they get the best. And it's not that we respond to such situation. We have to have capacity that any adversary even if it has to ban something like this, it thinks million times. And let me tell you, Ajay, as a country, as a society, as a civilization, we have everything in it. All we need is a vision and resolve. And if we have these two things, India's story will be very different. If India emerges, now I've been saying, previous this thing also, if India emerges as a powerful state, the whole world is going to be far more safer. So, our all stakeholders, they have to realize that, we cannot bank everything only on the defense forces, and we can't only lead them. We have to back them, and real support will be genuine restructuring of all institutions of governance.
Right. So, Brigadier Datta, if I play the devil's advocate, maybe intelligence agencies tipped off the security establishment, and maybe it was not taken seriously, or maybe it was not analyzed properly. Should there be a probe to analyze, to see where the lapse happened?
Yeah, definitely. There should be a probe, and it should be, investigated fast. You see, unfortunately, what happens is that in India, you will only, hear three sentences. कि ये बड़ी गंभीर समस्या है. If you start probing somebody, then say ये विवेचना का विषय है. और if you probe him further, then they say कि न्यायिक जांच के आदेश दे दिए गए हैं. So, we have to rise above, these statements, and we have to pinpoint responsibility. You see, why Indian Army is a very potent or the most potent weapon in the state armory is because we are leadership, predominant organization. We are held accountable for each and every action. If there is a failure of command at any level, be it a section, or be it a army level, or at a corps commander level, or a brigade commander level, the first thing is that commander or the leader is eased off, because it is said that it is a failure of command on your part. You are no longer required.
But Brigadier Datta, did that happen in Kargil? I don't think it happened in Kargil.
Yeah, it did happen. It did happen. The GOC 3 days, he was eased off, and he was.
But then he was saved also.
No, he was not saved at all. But he was eased off. He was a very aspiring officer, and because of the leftists, he was, let off. The GOC 3 days, and various other commanders in the chain, they were, they were eased off. And secondly, what I want to tell you is that, national security is everybody's concern. It is not, army's concern, or it is not, police concern, or it is not the administrative officers, it is their concern. So everybody has to chip in. And secondly, it is high time. You see, today the transparency in communications, the kind of conversations which we have, the national character is also judged by the adversaries or by the international statesmen from the conversations which we have.
Right.
There is more noise on some of our channels than the news. So, what we have to have is a very constructive.
That is why we are having constructive discussion, not news, not noise.
Yes, and not many people love it.
Yes.
And let me tell you one thing, because there are a large number of people who see this program, because you firstly, you raise issues which are burning and relevant, and secondly, you give time to express. Because, we must always, express to communicate a thing, and not express to impress.
Right.
Or we should not just honestly raise our decibel level to convey our point. It is not required. So what is required is that, yes, as a nation, we should be focused. We should be, looking at the strategic high-value targets. And one more thing which is there is that India has, potential threats from all over. So we have to have a 360-degree appraisal of our security concerns. The kind of surrogate conflict which China is starting. Even if you read today's newspaper, he is throwing ruses on Bangladesh,
Right.
Nepal. We share boundaries with 7 to 8 countries, with our land boundaries and maritime boundaries with so many others. So we have to be, and we cannot be like.
Brigadier Datta, we are running out of time. I want to ask one brief comment from Mr. Oja. Corps commanders meeting again taking place on October 12th. How do you see? Because what do you expect? Because all this agreement so far have been nil. So how do you see that? Brief comment, please.
Look, in diplomacy, it is said that even if you agree to meet for the next time, that is also a progress. So whatever may happen, as long as two sides are deciding to meet, I suppose it's a progress. There is some channel of communication which is on, and government has better access to information. So they have decided with all their wisdom that it is perfectly all right to go into this dialogue. So far, on a positive side, this has not flared into a full-fledged war. To that extent, negotiations and engagements are successful. Chinese have not withdrawn till now. Of course, it's a failure. But I suppose whatever may be the consequences, this engagement, these discussions must keep on, must keep going. But yes, we must never lower our guard. We should be prepared for the worst. So in that context, I feel perfectly all right to go ahead with these discussions because our troops are staying very vigilant and alert on the border. Otherwise,
So we should not lower our guard, we should be alert always because we have treacherous neighbors on both sides. But thank you both of you for participating in this debate.
thank you. Thank you.
This is all in the agenda today. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with another important topic tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.